Hello and welcome to our series on Catholic women. My name is Jenny Zahner, and today we'll be talking about servant of God Santina Campana, who lived from 1929 to 1950. The desire to love Jesus and Mary came early to Santina Campana, who was born into a peasant family in Italy. Even her spirit of self-denial made itself known when she was 8 years old and working in the hayfields with her father and her older sister Maria. To the shock of her father and older sister, Santina's hands began bleeding while working from striking sharp stones. While Maria complained about her own hands and their fate which forced them to work so hard, Santina replied that Maria should not worry, that God created the stones and knew that they would someday touch them and gain merits. Besides, she replied, it is not so much the stones, since the skin of my hands and arms are very thin. When she was old enough, she began to instruct the children of the parish in preparation for First Holy Communion and for confirmation. She also gave lessons on how to attend Holy Mass properly and how to recite the Rosary correctly. Santina became ill with pleurisy at the age of 13, and it endured its effects for 11 months. Realizing that the clean air of the mountains would help her condition, she moved there with her family. But she continued to suffer atrocious pains, which were accompanied by high fever. The family remained in the region because of World War II and were forced to live in a stable, which placed other burdens upon their little patient. In addition to the pleurisy, she endured hunger, cold, suffocating air, and conditions tolerable only to a person with faith and strength of character like Santina. She was always supported in her sufferings by her mother and sisters, and in spite of her condition, she maintained a peace and a serenity that could be attributed only to the grace of God. After all, she reasoned, didn't Jesus live for a time in a stable? Eventually, her condition became so critical that all suspected she would die. In response to their apprehensions, Santina declared that she was not afraid and that all would take place in God's good time if that was His will for her. While living in the stable, French troops came upon the place and gave Santina medicines that seemed to relieve her condition. With the return to her native village at the end of the war, Santina seemed delivered of her ordeal, so much so that at the age of 15, she expressed the desire to enter the religious life. That same year, she joined the Sisters of Charity in Rome. After months of intense study and with angelic fervor, she began her novitiate. 2 years later, however, on March 25th, 1947, she vomited blood, which revealed the return of her pulmonary distress and the end of her life in the convent. A few months later, Santina entered this sanatorium, but she was not a sad or a disconsolate patient. Instead, she was vivacious, encouraging the other patients to prayer and to love of God. Even when she began to lose weight alarmingly and was repeatedly spitting blood, she supported the others with her courage and her willing acceptance of pain as coming from the hands of God. From her bed of pain, which she called her white throne, she found initiatives to help the foreign missions and was able to send small contributions to them. She joined the Catholic Union of the Sick and sent messages of faith and love to all the other members. Unafraid of death, she looked forward to flying into the arms of my Creator. She died on the evening of October 4th, 1940, at the age of 21. One of those present later wrote, "How beautiful was Santina in her sufferings." Another wrote, "We contemplated Santina in her eternal sleep. How beautiful she was." The chaplain of the sanatorium, who assisted Santina, added that he was fascinated by her candor and the force of her mind, which was irresistible in her last days. The companions who gathered around her bed reported that she had a singular force of spiritual attraction. Santina had lived as a saint and died as a saint, and now she can be found among the virgins of paradise. Since her death, celestial favors reported through Santina's intercession have increased in number. The ecclesiastical authorities opened her cause for beatification in 1979. Thank you for joining us.